1. A baby and a sock. The mother gave her baby a red apple. The baby tried to eat the apple. His mouth was too small, and he did not have any teeth. His brother took the apple. His brother ate the apple. The baby cried. His brother gave the baby a blue ball to play with. The baby smiled. His brother took the ball from the baby. He rolled the ball on the floor. The brown and white dog picked up the ball. The dog chewed on the ball. The baby cried again. His brother picked up the cat. He put the cat on the bed with the baby. The baby pulled the cat's tail. The cat jumped off the bed. The dog chased the cat. The baby cried again. His brother let the baby hold a sock. The baby played with the sock. The baby was happy. 2. Never fight over trifles. It was high summer. A traveler hired a donkey and set out on a journey. The owner of the donkey was following behind to drive the beast. At midday, they decided to take rest for time, but could not find any shady place around. So, the traveler decided to rest in the shade of the donkey. But the owner did not let him do so, as he himself wanted to sit in its shadow. The traveler said, "How can you refuse me the shadow? I have paid you money after all." "But you have paid for the ride, not for resting in his shadow," retorted the owner. So, an argument followed between the two. When the donkey saw that the owner and the hirer were busy fighting, he took to his heels and was soon out of sight. "I have paid you money after all. But you have paid for the ride, not for resting in his shadow," retorted the owner. 3. Better bent than broken. Once a huge oak tree stood on the bank of a river. It was well nourished by the water of the river. Naturally, it was strong and had a thick stem. Just nearby grew some reeds with thin but flexible stems. They stood almost half in water and had flourished well too. One day, high winds blew. The tree, though huge and strong, broke from the middle and thrown across the stream just among the reeds. On the other hand, the tree was surprised to see that the reeds suffered no harm at all. The oak could not make out the reason of the safety of the reeds and asked them, "How is it that you, are being frail and slender, managed to face the gale without any harm? But I, strong enough, have been broken." The reeds replied, "You were proud of your strength and refused to bend. So, you broke while we bowed and yielded to the gale and were spared." 4. Belling the cat. Long ago, the mice had a general council to consider what measures they could take to outwit their common enemy. The cat said this, and some said that. But at last, a young mouse got up and said he had a proposal to make, which he thought would meet the case. "You will all agree," said he, "that our chief danger consists in the sly and treacherous way the enemy approaches us. Now, if we could receive some signal of her approach, we could easily escape from her. I venture, therefore, to propose that a small bell be procured, and attached by a ribbon round the neck of the cat. By this means we should always know when she was about and could easily retire while she was in the neighborhoods. This proposal met with general applause, until an old mouse got up and said, "That is all very well, but who is to bell the cat?" The mice looked at one another and nobody spoke. Then the old mouse said, "It is easy to propose impossible remedies." 5. The rat and the elephant. A rat was traveling along the king's highway. He was a proud rat, considering his small size and the bad reputation all rats have. As Mr. Rat walked along, he kept mostly to the disc. He noticed a great commotion up the road, and soon a grand procession came in view. It was the king and his retinue. The king rode on a huge elephant adorned with the most gorgeous trappings. With the king in his luxurious howdah were the royal dog and cat. A great crowd of people followed the procession. They were taken up with admiration of the elephant, that the rat was not noticed. His pride hurt. "What fools!" he cried. "Look at me, and you will soon forget that clumsy elephant. Is it his generous size that makes your eyes pop out? Or is it his wrinkled hide? Why, I have eyes and ears and as legs as he. I am of just as importance." But just then the royal cat spied him, and the next instant, the rat knew he was not so important as an elephant. A resemblance to the great in things does not make us great. 5. The jay and the peacock. A jay venturing into a yard where peacocks used to walk, found there a number of feathers which had fallen from the peacocks when they were mounting. He tied them all to his tail and strutted down towards the peacocks. When he came near them, they soon discovered the cheat, and strut ing up to him, pecked at him and plucked away his borrowed plumes. So, the jay could do no better than go back to the other jays, who had watched his behavior from a distance. But they were equally annoyed with him and told him, "It is not only fine feathers that make fine birds." Cost of the bell. Every day, a shepherd used to take his cows for grazing. He had tied a bell to each of the cows he had so that he could know where they were grazing. The best cow had a costly bell tied around her neck. One day, a stranger was going through the pasture. Seeing the costly bell around the cow's neck, he went to the shepherd and asked if he would sell the bell. Out of greed, the shepherd sold the bell. But now he could not know where his best cow was grazing. On getting an opportunity, the stranger stole the cow. Thus, the shepherd lost his best cow just because of his greed. The mischievous dog. There was once a dog who was so ill-natured and mischievous that his master had to fasten a heavy wooden clog about his neck to keep him from annoying visitors and neighbors. But the dog was proud of the clog and dragged it about noisily as if he wished to attract everybody's attention. He was not able to impress anyone. "You would be wiser," said an old acquaintance, "to keep quietly out of sight with that clog. Do you want everybody to know what a disgraceful and ill-natured dog you are? Notoriety is not fame." 7. Never tell lie. On his deathbed, a father advised his son to always speak the truth. The son promised that he would never tell a lie. One day, while going to the city through a forest, the robbers surrounded him. One of them asked, "What do you have?" The boy answered, "I have 50 rupees." They searched for him but could not find anything. When they were about to go, the boy called out, "I am not telling a lie. See these 50 rupees note which I had hidden in my shirt." The leader of the robbers felt pleased at the truthfulness of the boy, gave him 100 rupees as reward and went away. The crow and the pitcher. A spell of dry weather, when the birds could find little to drink, a thirsty crow found a pitcher with a little water in it. But the pitcher was high and had a narrow neck, and no matter how he tried, the crow could not reach the water. The unfortunate thing felt as if he must die of thirst. Then an idea came to him. Picking up small pebbles, he dropped them into the pitcher one by one. With each pebble the water rose a little higher until at last it was near enough so he could drink. In a pinch a good use of our wits may help us out. 8. The Two Crabs. One fine day 2 crabs came out from their home to take a stroll on the sand. "Child," said the mother, "you are walking very ungracefully. You should accustom yourself to walking straight forward without twisting from side to side." "Pray, mother," said the young one, "do but set the example yourself, and I will follow you. Examples is the best precept." 9. The Goose with the Golden Egg. One day a country's man going to the nest of his goose found there an egg all yellow and glittering. When he took it up it was as heavy as lead and he was going to throw it away, because he thought a trick had played upon him. But he took it home on second thoughts, and soon found to his delight that it was an egg of pure gold. Every morning the same thing occurred, and he soon became rich by selling his eggs. As he grew rich, he grew greedy, and thinking to get at once all the gold the goose could give, he killed it and opened it only to find nothing. Greed often overreaches itself. 10. The Bear and the Bees. A bear came across a log where a swarm of bees had nested to make their honey. As he snooped around, a single little bee flew out of the log to protect the swarm, knowing that the bear would eat all the honey. The little bee stung him sharply on the nose and flew back into the log. This flew the bear into an angry rage. He swatted at the log with his big claws, determined to destroy the nest of bees inside. This only alerted the bees, and quick as a wink, the entire swarm of bees flew out of the log and began to sting the bear from head to heel. The bear saved himself by running to and diving into the nearest pond. It is better to bear a single injury in silence than to bring about 1,000 by reacting in anger. 11. Friendship is a strong weapon. It was sizzling summer. a lion went to a pool to drink water. Just then a pig also came there to quench his thirst. Both wanted to drink first. They looked at each other with bloodshot eyes and attacked each other with so much anger that soon they started bleeding. Feeling tired, both stopped for a while to be fresh. Suddenly, they heard the screams of vultures. They saw that vast number of vultures were looking at them with longing eyes. In no time, both the beasts understood that the vultures were waiting for one of them to be killed by the other so that they might feed on his dead body. So, both became friends, quenched their thirst, and went away. Thus, their friendship saved their lives. 12. The Owl and the Grasshopper. The owl always takes her sleep during the day. Then after sundown, when the rosy light fades from the sky and the shadows rise slowly through the wood, out she comes ruffling and blinking from the old hollow tree. Now her weird yoo-hoo-hoo-hoo through the quiet wood, and she begins her hunt for the bugs and beetles, frogs, and mice she likes so well to eat. Now there was a certain old owl who had become very cross and hard to please as she grew older, especially if anything disturbed her daily slumbers. One warm summer afternoon, as she dozed away in her den in the old oak tree, a grasshopper nearby began a joyous but very raspy song. Out popped the old owl's head from the opening in the tree that served her both for door and for window. "Get away from here, sir," she said to the grasshopper. "Have you no manners? You should at least respect my age and leave me to sleep in quiet." But the grasshopper answered saucily that he had as much right to his place in the sun as the owl had to her place in the old oak. Then he struck up a louder and still more rasping tune. The wise old owl knew quite well that it would do no good to argue with the grasshopper, nor with anybody else for that matter. Besides, her eyes were not sharp enough by day to permit her to punish the grasshopper as he deserved. So, she laid aside all difficult words and spoke very kindly to him. "Well, sir," she said, "if I must stay awake, I am going to settle right down to enjoy your singing. Now that I think of it, I have a wonderful wine here, sent me from Olympus, of which I am told Apollo drinks before he sings to the high gods. Please come up and taste this delicious drink with me. I know it will make you sing like Apollo himself." The foolish grasshopper took in by the owl's flattering words. Up he jumped to the owl's den, but as soon as he was near enough so the old owl could see him clearly, she pounced upon him and ate him up. Flattery is not a proof of true admiration. Do not let flattery throw you off your guard against an enemy. 13. The Lion and the Gnat. "Away with you, vile insect," said a lion angrily to a gnat that was buzzing around his head. But the gnat was not in the least disturbed. "Do you think," he said spitefully to the lion, "that I am afraid of you because they call you king?" The next instant he flew at the lion and stung him sharply on the nose. Mad with rage, the lion struck fiercely at the gnat, but only succeeded in tearing himself with his claws. Again and again the gnat stung the lion, who now was roaring terribly. At last, worn out with rage and covered with wounds that his own teeth and claws had made, the lion gave up the fight. The gnat buzzed away to tell the big world about his victory, but instead he flew straight into a spider's web. And there, he who had defeated the king of beasts came to a miserable end, the prey of a little spider. The ass's brains. The lion and the fox went hunting together. The lion, on the advice of the fox, sent a message to the ass, proposing to make an alliance between their two families. The ass came to the place of meeting, overjoyed at the prospect of a royal alliance. But when he came there, the lion simply pounced on the ass and said to the fox, "Here is our dinner for today. Watch you here while I have a nap. Woe betides you if you touch my prey." The lion went away, and the fox waited, but finding that his master did not return, ventured to take out the brains of the ass and ate them up. When the lion came back, he soon noticed the absence of the brains, and asked the fox in a terrible voice, "What have you done with the brains? Watch you here while I have a nap." "Brains, your majesty." "It had none, or it would never have fallen into your trap." The Mercury and the Woodman. The woodman was in despair. The axe was all he possessed with which to make a living, and he had not money enough to buy a new one. As he stood wringing his hands and weeping, the god Mercury suddenly appeared and asked what the trouble was. The woodman told what had happened. And straightway the kind Mercury dived into the pool. When he came up again, he held a wonderful golden axe. "Is this your axe?" Mercury asked the woodman. "No," answered the honest woodman, "that is not my axe." Mercury laid the golden axe on the bank and sprang back into the pool. This time he mentioned an axe of silver. But the woodman declared again that his axe was just an ordinary one with a wooden handle. Mercury dived down for the third time, and when he came up again, he had the very axe that had lost. The poor woodman was glad that his axe had found and could not thank the kind god enough. Mercury was pleased with the woodman's honesty. "I admire your honesty," he said. "And as a reward you may have all three axes, the gold and the silver as well as your own." The happy woodman returned to his home with his treasures. And soon the story of his good fortune was known to everybody in the village. Now there were several woodmen in the village who believed that they could easily win the same good fortune. They hurried out into the woods, one here, one there, and hiding their axes in the bushes, pretended they had lost them. Then they wept, wailed, and called on Mercury to help them. And indeed, Mercury did appear, first to this one, then to that. To each one he showed an axe of gold, and each one eagerly claimed it to be the one he had lost. But Mercury did not give them the golden axe. Oh no! Instead, he gave them each a hard whack over the head with it and sent them home. And when they returned next day to look for their own axes, they were nowhere to found. Thank you and subscribe to follow next video.